Okay, so if you have strong basic math skills, well, then you might be able to figure out the solution to this problem because this problem is not going to be that easy, even for those of you out there that are like, yes, indeed, I am an expert in basic mathematics. Well, let's see how you do with this problem. This is a great opportunity to show off your math skills. But let me go ahead and read the problem. It is the following. The LCD, which of course stands for the lowest common denominator, of two fractions is 840. One fraction is 1 over 30. What is the lowest possible denominator of the other fraction? All right, so obviously a lot going on in this problem, and you're going to have to really think about this and do a little bit of work. Feel free to use a calculator as well, but whatever you do, try to justify your answer. Okay, so in other words, if you're going to take a guess, well, I guess that's okay, but really, to get this problem right, you need to kind of back up whatever your answer is. So put that solution of yours into the comment section. I'll show you the correct answer in just 1 second, and then of course I'm going to have to walk through exactly how to solve this problem step by step. But before we get started, let me quickly introduce myself. My name is John, and I have been teaching middle and high school math for decades. And it really is my true passion to try to make learning math as easy as possible. So if you need assistance in mathematics, check out my math help program at tcmathacademy.com. You can find a link to that in the description below. And if this video helps you out, or if you just enjoy this content, make sure to like and subscribe, as that definitely helps me out. All right, so a lot going on in this question. I'm going to read it again here in a second, but let's go ahead and get to the answer. The correct answer is 56. Now, some of you may not even understand the question, and that is okay. But if you solve this problem and you got 56, that is fantastic. Matter of fact, I have to give you a happy face and A++, maybe like 1,000%. Matter of fact, I'm just going to stop there. I'm going to say you're dismissed. Take the rest of the year off. The rest of the people in the class are going to be like, why does that person get to go? Well, I'm going to say that's a mathematical genius right there. And I'm like, how did that person get so smart in math? Maybe they've been watching that guy on YouTube. But nevertheless, if you figure this thing out, that is really, really good. All right, now just because this is basic math, okay, don't let this word basic, maybe this is not the best word, all right, because this implies that things are going to be simple, right? Basic or simple. Sometimes even the habits that we have, right? Things are simple, but they're not so easy to execute. But arithmetic, fractions, dealing with numbers, I think a lot of people, including myself, will just say, oh, we're dealing with numbers, we're not dealing with algebra, so therefore it's going to be easy. Well, not necessarily so. You really need to know a lot of concepts and there's a lot of understanding that goes into really mastering, arithmetic, basic math concepts. And of course, a lot of you out there probably forgot, much of this information, but that's okay. We're going to go ahead and review this. And by the time you finish this video, you'll be an expert at the lowest common denominator. All right, now you absolutely need to understand how to find the LCD if you're going to add or subtract two fractions. Okay, and of course, we're not really adding two fractions here, but we need to kind of keep in mind that that's why we need to find the LCD. So let me go ahead and erase this real quick. So for example, if I wanted to add 1 over 35 plus 3 over 7, well, let's make it more interesting, 3 over 19, okay? I can't add these fractions because the denominators are the same. Therefore, I need to find the lowest common denominator. Now, finding the LCD is actually pretty easy when the denominators are simple. Okay, a lot of people say, "Oh, I know what the LCD is." Matter of fact, let's go to take a look at some examples. So here we have 1/3 plus 1/5. If I gave you this problem, most of you would be like, "Oh, yes, indeed, the LCD is 15," and that's good. Okay, but what you're thinking in your brain, you're going like this. You're like, what's the LCD? It's the lowest number. You're probably thinking, what is the lowest number that both of these numbers divide into? Your brain kind of goes like this, and you're checking numbers. Like, 15 works, and that would be correct. But that's just kind of a conceptual way to think about what the lowest common denominator is, because when we make the numbers more interesting, like let's say, for example, if I wanted to add these fractions, 307 plus 522, Well, at this point, people are going to be like, I'm not doing that problem. I'm out of here, Mr. YouTube Math Man. Well, listen, I get it, but this is what this whole video is about. It's about the procedure or algorithm in order to find the LCD of numbers, right? And of course, this can get rather complicated. And this particular problem is, a little bit of an interesting twist on this. Okay, so let's go ahead and take the next step. And let's go ahead and do this problem right here. So we have 3/10 plus 4/10. We're not going to do the entire thing, but we are going to find the LCD. All right, now before I show you the work, let's go ahead and see if you can determine what the lowest common denominator is. Clearly, these two fractions right here, okay, don't have the correct or the same denominator, excuse me. Now I could reduce this fraction. 4 over 25 is the same thing as, well, no, I could not reduce that. Boy, I tell you, I made a mistake, but guess what? I'm going to just leave it in the video. But yes, I was thinking for a second, maybe this is 5 over 25. Anyways, I'll tell you right now, if you can reduce fractions, always reduce fractions before you're trying to find the LCD. All right, so I apologize for that little hiccup, but we cannot reduce this, so we have to find out what the LCD is between 10 and 25. All right, do you have your answer? Well, let's go to take a look at the right answer. The answer is 50. Okay, it's 50, there it is, but let's see how we get to this answer. Now, again, you could have just, asked yourself, all right, what's the lowest number that both of these numbers go into? So 25 times 2 is 50, and because 10 can't go into 25, so we multiply this by 2, we're like, okay, yes, 10 goes into 50, that works. But how does this, how do we really find the LCD? Okay, so this is what we need to do. So we have our denominators here, 10 and 25. What we have to do is prime factor each denominator. So here's 10. Okay, so let's break it up into its prime factors, and you want to use a lovely factor tree to do that. So 10 is the same thing as 2 times 5. 2 is a prime factor, and 5 is a prime factor. So we can write 10, or we can express 10 as 2 times 5. Okay, if we want to basically express the numbers in our denominators as their prime factors. Now let's take a look at 25. 25, pretty easy, 5 times 5. So these are prime numbers. So 25 is equal to 5 squared. All right, anytime you have repeating factors, you always want to write them as squared, as a power, excuse me, because you could have like 5 cubed. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we build the LCD. And that's really what we're going to be doing. We're going to be building the LCD from the prime factors of our denominators. Okay, so pretty much this is the way it works. You need to have each prime factor represented, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look. This one has 2, this one has 5, this number has 2, and this one has 5. This one has 5 squared. All right, so again, in the LCD is going to be the product of each unique prime factor. All right, so we need a 2 in our LCD. No problem, 2 is represented. But now we have 5. But we have a 5 here, but over here we have 5 squared. So should I write this as 2 times 5 squared to have all these factors represented? No, that's not the way it works. And this is the tricky part. So anytime you have the same number to a different power, this is 5 to the first, this is 5 to the second power, all we need to do is take the highest power of that number. Okay, so we don't need 5 to the first, we take 5 to the second power. Okay, so this is how this works. So 2 times 5 to the second power, 5 to the second power is what? 25. 2 times 25 is 50, and there you go. That's how you build the LCD. Okay, now if you understand this, then we can, have the tools to figure out how to solve this problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at kind of the situation here. So the problem gives us the LCD, right? The LCD is 840, and it gives us one of the fractions. Okay, it says what is the lowest possible denominator of the other fraction. So let's take a look at two situations. So here we have two fractions, 3/10 and 1 over 20. What is the LCD of these two fractions? Well, it is 20, okay? But if I said one of the fractions is 1 over 20, and I said I have two fractions, the LCD is 20, one of the fractions is 1 over 20, what's the lowest possible denominator of the other fraction? Okay, so here we have 10 as a denominator, but is it the lowest possible denominator? Well, no, we could actually go down here to 4. Okay, now I'm actually not doing this problem. I'm just showing you that we could get lower numbers other than 10. So in other words, 3/4, okay, and 1 over 20, the LCD is also 20, okay? So clearly, we can get numbers, different numbers for denominators with the same LCD. Now, this is a kind of confusing problem, but this is what the question is asking. Okay, we have an LCD of 840, okay, and we know that one of the fractions is 1 over 30. Okay, we're looking for a fraction with the lowest possible denominator. So even the question itself can be kind of confusing, but let's go ahead and take the next step, which of course is having you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Now, I wouldn't stop this lovely video if it wasn't that important. Now, if you want to show your support for my YouTube channel, this is a great way. Matter of fact, this is the most important thing you could do. And if you're going to do that, make sure to hit that notification bell because this helps my channel grow, which really translates into growing my channel or growing my classroom. Excuse me. I look at my YouTube channel as my virtual classroom. I want to share all those decades of experience with all this math stuff in my brain. I want to help people learn math. Now, if you're just interested in math, I love, going over and, watching you do, see me solve problems or have you work on your math skills. And that's fantastic. But I'm particularly looking for those people that are on the verge of giving up on math because they're like, I'm bad at math. I hate math. Typically, most people who feel that way about math are frustrated by math, okay? And they're frustrated because of two reasons. Number one, they may not be working hard enough, all right? There are no shortcuts. I'm just telling you that right now. Stop looking for shortcuts. If some program or some guru out there is saying, yes, you can learn math in 3 minutes straight. No, listen, that doesn't work that way. So if you are willing to put in the work, what you need is great instruction, not watered down instruction. You need comprehensive instruction that you understand. Now, you need to find yourself a math teacher that can teach you that way. And if you can't find a teacher that can teach you that way, then I would love to be your teacher. Okay, so don't give up on math. If you stick with it, I promise you can improve. Now, I know I took a lot of time to talk about this, but this is really the essence of my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for letting me blab here. But let's get back to this problem because we do have a lot of work to kind of think about to solve this problem. All right, so I needed to kind of set this up and make sure you understood what the LCD is and that we can have an LCD. We can have two fractions with the same LCD, but they can have different denominators, right? So we kind of saw that in this example. So the LCD of these two fractions is 840. One fraction is 1 over 30. What is the lowest possible denominator of the other fraction? All right, so at this point, hopefully, you now have the skills and the understanding of this question because this can be definitely a bit confusing. And let's go ahead and get into this thing right now. Okay, so here we have one fraction, that's 1 over 30, and the LCD is 840. Okay, now we're looking for another fraction, but specifically, we're looking for a fraction that has the lowest the lowest possible denominator, okay, such that when I consider these two fractions, the LCD is 840. Now let's suppose you're like, well, maybe 1 over 840 could be, a fraction where, these two fractions right here, the LCD is 840, right? So in other words, if you had like 1/2 and 1/10 or something, right? I could just multiply 2 by 5 and I get 10. Now, is that the situation? In other words, if some of you are saying, well, let's just take 840 and divide it by 30. So maybe it's 28, okay? Well, do or is 840, okay, the LCD of these two fractions 840, right? If I do that. No, 840 is a common denominator between these two fractions, but it's not the lowest common denominator. So if you said, well, the lowest denominator is 28, well, if you were going to add these two fractions, the LCD is actually 420. It's not 840. Okay, so specifically in this problem, the lowest common denominator is 840. Okay, so if you said 28, that is not right. Now, 840 is in fact a common denominator, but it's not the lowest common denominator, right? So we got to watch our definitions here. So we said, all right, let me just take 840 divided by 30. Maybe it's 28. The LCD, it does work, okay, but that's, again, not the lowest common denominator. All right, so what do we do? Well, we're going to have to go back to our lovely factor tree. Okay, so let's go ahead and prime factor our LCD. So here is our LCD. The LCD is 840. Well, let's look at this number in terms of its prime factors. So let's go ahead and just quickly do this. So factoring a number using prime factor, there's different ways you can do it, but I'm looking at 840, two factors right off the bat. 10 times 84 will give me 840. Now I can just start breaking these numbers down. So 10 is the same thing as 2 times 5, prime, prime. 84 is the same thing as 4 times 21. I can continue to factor each of these factors. So 4 is 2 times 2, so I'm done there. And 21 is 7 times 3. Okay, so let's put this all together. 840 is 2 cubed. I have 2, 2, and a 2 here. So 2 times 2 times 2, that's 2 cubed. Remember, you want to express repeating factors as powers, okay? So 840 is 2 cubed, but we have to have that 5 in there, 5, and 7, and 3. Okay, so 840 is equal to 2 cubed times 5 times 7 times 3. Now, what we need now is to look at the prime factors of 30, right? Because we're dealing with this fraction 1 over 30. So what are the prime factors of 30? Well, 30 is the same thing as 3 times 10. 3 is prime. 10 is the same thing as 2 times 5. So 30 is equal to, let me scroll down here, 3 times 2 times 5, right? This would be 10 times 3, which of course is 30. Okay, so we're almost there. So now let's go ahead and just kind of think about this. So here is our denominators. We have 1 over 30. We're considering this denominator. Of course, we're going to look for the LCD, and we're looking at the factors of that denominator. Okay, it's 3 times 2 times 5. Now we know the answer. We know that the LCD is 840, which is 2 cubed times 5 times 7 times 3. We just figured that out. So let's just kind of think about what's missing here. Well, let's look at our LCD. I have 30. Is 3 already in my LCD? Yes, it is. Okay, so whatever other denominator I'm looking at, this 3 is already represented in the denominator. Okay, how about 5? Yes, I have a 5 already in my LCD. So this other number that we're considering, doesn't have to have these factors because it's already represented in the 30. But what is missing? Okay, well, this 30 does not have a 7 and it does not have a 2 cubed. Okay, well, we need those factors because these factors are indeed part of the LCD. So we're going to, even though that this is 2 to the first, we need a 2 cubed and we need a 7. Okay, so 2 cubed and 7 are the minimum factors we need, obviously, to get this LCD of 840. So what is 2 cubed? This is 8. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 times 7, which of course is 56. And there is our other denominator, okay? Now, let's go ahead and just kind of see how this would work. So if I gave you this problem, 1 over 30 plus 1 over 56, okay? And I would say, okay, add these up. What would be the LCD? Well, again, I would go through and I would prime factor each of these denominators. So 30, here are the prime factors. 56, here are the prime factors for 56, 2 cubed times 7. And then, of course, I would build my LCD out, which I have to have each factor represented, right? So let's see, I need a 3, okay, in my LCD, I got that. And of course, I'm looking at both of these factors, right? And now I need a 5. All right, this one doesn't have a 5, so I need it over here. Okay, that's in my LCD. Oh, this one has a 7. I'm going to have a 7 in my LCD. And now we're down to this 2 to the first and 2 to the third. I have to pick 2 to the third. And when I figure out this big product here, it's 840. All right, now this problem, okay, could very well be confusing. Problem is, it is confusing, and it's not a direct, find the LCD type of question. It's kind of one of these questions where you have to really know your stuff. to kind of reason through it, reason through how you can approach this problem. But here's the deal. If you don't really truly have a firm grasp on fractions, denominators, factoring, factor trees, etc., you won't even be able to kind of, rationalize what to do in this particular problem. That's why, in the very beginning of this video, when I was talking about basic math, there is no such thing as kind of, basic, simple stuff. Everything can be made complex. Matter of fact, I'll tell you very, very fast. When I was getting my degree, I have a BA in mathematics, which is theoretical mathematics. I took my first upper division math course. It was basically, this is well after calculus and some other pretty challenging courses. It was a very skinny book, and it was like arithmetic. It was all numbers and whatnot. And I thought, oh, this class is going to be easy because I'm not dealing with any crazy variables or, any crazy calculus and whatnot. And guess what? That class was way harder than calculus, and because we're dealing with proofs and all this different type of stuff. So don't think that arithmetic. Don't look at it as like, oh, this is I can just kind of breeze through this. And this is particularly important for those of you that want to get back into math. You have to really understand the foundations. I think that's maybe my whole point of making this video, is to really make sure you have a healthy respect for how important it is to master all these basic math skills, okay? Fractions, order of operations, decimals, place values, all this kind of stuff. Matter of fact, if you're looking to improve in basic math, let me give you a couple quick suggestions before I wrap up this video. One, I have a course. You can find a link to it in the description. It's called my Math Foundations course. It's a little mini boot camp on basic math skills, okay, to include fractions. But if you really want to kind of review and strengthen your entire math skills, maybe the stuff that you've forgotten, check out my Math Skills Rebuilder course. It's a new course of mine. It starts off with basic arithmetic, all this kind of stuff that I covered here. And then it goes into a ton of algebra, a ton of geometry, and even some basic trigonometry and some probability and statistics. And you could just, take your time because that's a huge amount of material. But anyways, here is the main point of this video. Okay, for those of you that might be even like in algebra, if you're struggling, what I have found through the decades is you need to go back to the basics. Make sure you really understand, your arithmetic, your fractions, and stuff like that, because it will come back to haunt you in your, algebra studies, etc., etc. Okay, so with all that being said, I definitely wish you all the best in your mathematics adventures. Thank you for your time and have a great day.